Well, hello then, I do hope you're all well. Now, I need your help on this one, so I'm not sure if I'm right, but during our Mad Nads Cross-Party Select Committee meeting, our Nadine Dorries, our Secretary of State for Culture, Media and Sport, was being asked questions by Labour MP for Ealing Central, Dr Rupert Hook. And I need your help on this one, because somebody who doesn't have a Netflix account. I'm not sure if I'm right, but what I'm talking about is, and I'm not talking about electronic babysitting, because that comes up in the conversation, but I do get the feeling that our Mad Nad might have inadvertently admitted that she's breaking the law with her Netflix account.
Thanks, Chair. In fact, I think I might avail myself as well, because I remember asking in the chamber about the same thing, and I don't think it's sorted, so I'll be doing the same. Look, one of my favourite Channel 4 programmes is Tower Block of Commons. I think we've chatted about it before. You were on it as a young MP in the South Acton estate, being sent to see how the other half lived. I'm just curious.
But then I discovered later they were actually actors.
Oh, were they? I did not know.
What, the MPs or the...
No, the people in. So Channel 4 production, actually.
It was,
and so the parents of some of the people, of the boys in that programme, actually came here to have lunch with me and contacted me to tell me actually they were in acting school and that they weren't really living in a flat and they weren't real...
a headline for tomorrow.
Yeah, they're actually actors. And even... if you remember, there's a pharmacist or somebody that I went to see who prepared food. She was also paid an actress as well. So there you go.
Jolly good viewing, and it was in the South Acton estate. But I'm just curious about...
Now, I have no idea what they're talking about, but judging with our Nadine Dorries' reputation with the truth, I won't believe her either, so I don't know either way.
The sequencing of decision making of this, because it wasn't in the manifesto, and it's kind of within minutes of that election debate last time round in 2019, it was said that Lee Kane is seeking vengeance for the Prime Minister being replaced by an ice sculpture. Is that true? And do you want to put that one to bed now? Or?
It's just laughable, I'm sorry. I have no responsibility about what Lee Kane says or anything else, but it's a vague, the ice sculpture thing is a vague, distant memory somewhere from the election campaign, but...
That'll be due to the alcohol, Nadine.
No. I can promise you that the sale of Channel 4 has been something that's been reviewed and under discussion for a considerable time, not just since the last election. And the fact that Channel 4 has been... is in a position of a decreasing advertising revenue spend market and solely dependent on advertising is what's brought this to a fall.
Do you know when it was decided? Because that, and also the freeze of the BBC licence fee, neither of those were in the manifesto. So it just seems, when were those hatched?
I bet it's about the time when they were getting a load of slaver from these companies from the BBC and Channel 4. I think, right, payback time.
On the first, the decision was announced in the broadcasting white paper, so the decision was made post the consultation. The question of Channel 4 ownership has been a live one for some time, indeed from not long after it was created, so it's not surprising that government decided to look at it again because it...
Is that true? I don't know. Possibly to be true, but this is Nadine Dorries we're talking about, so do you believe anything?
Does that periodically, and as the Secretary of State has set out, there are particular reasons to do so when the media market has changed so radically. On the licence fee, that's a decision that's made in a time period set out in the BBC Charter, so it wouldn't be something that would appear in a manifesto because it's a decision for the Secretary of State at the time set out in the Charter.
That comes up next in 2027, but we're going to have a review on the licence fee before, in fact, I'll be announcing that very shortly.
Right, and then just following on from Steve Bryan's questions, I know you've not set out the total criteria of nations and regions, that kind of thing. We do know that Channel 4 spends more on nations and regions than any other commercially funded broadcaster, twice as ITV, so if you can put that in your stipulations, that would be great.
Well, actually, Channel 5.
Apparently, it's 6 times more than Channel 5, according to what I've got here.
And I don't think that's correct.
Twice as much.
I call Channel 5 the levelling up broadcaster because it spends, particularly in Yorkshire, so it does very well in the regions.
Here, spends 6 times Channel 5's external.
Well, in
ratings
terms of
regions.
budgets, but I think in percentage of total budgets. So I think in terms of what gets spent in the regions, Channel 4 may do because it has head office in Leeds, a Leeds office and what have you. But in terms of funding going into the regions, Channel 5 is definitely lighting the way on that.
Who am I going to believe? The doctor here who's asking you, because I've forgotten her name, or drunken Nadine Dorries, who believes that Sir Keir Starmer was responsible for getting Jimmy Savile off. That's a tougher.
And either way,
Have you watched The
Still
Dogfather?
the main issue is that, of course, kind of as the Secretary of State set out in the next episode, Channel 4 themselves made some proposals about further moves out of London, and will obviously at the process where bids are assessed be looking at what commitments bidders might like to make about production outside of London as well.
I mean, from what I've been supplied, the government's confirmed that in the event of a new sale, a new owner won't have any obligations for training and skills. Is that something you can write into the...
That's the kind of detail we're working through now.
Okay, because, they're significantly investing in all this. And then just on the Netflix thing, I mean, it's a bit scary that in the last day, Netflix has announced layoffs of 150 employees because of falling profits and growth. So, I mean, it's not necessarily one to aspire to.
Well, I think for people to even try and paint a picture that Netflix is unsuccessful or...
George Orwell line. Reject the evidence of your own eyes and ears. It's the party's final and most essential command sprung to mind when she said that.
is struggling is probably kind of slightly over-egging the pudding. Netflix has done what many businesses do. I think it's reached the point of market saturation, which is, a good thing for Netflix. But they are going to have to revise their business model, and they will probably revise it in a way which will make life much more difficult for public service broadcasters who rely on advertising revenue. So Netflix, I've always thought it's an incredibly generous system that it has. If you have a account of allowing other people, my mum has access to my account, kids do. I have Netflix, but there are 4 other people who can use my Netflix accounts in different parts of the country.
Just learn something.
I'm sure that's illegal. Is that illegal? Or am I barking up the wrong tree here? If that's true, no wonder Netflix are losing money hand over fist. But mind you, when your love of your life is a lawbreaker as well, criminals attract criminals, I suppose.
So I think they're going to probably change their model. Well, am I not supposed to do that?
I don't know.
They'll probably change their model and take on board advertising.
Yeah, and get ripped off by criminals by the sounds of it.
Many people watch it in my house. I had to pay for the more expensive one. So
It's gone up as well just now. Okay, the last thing I wanted to ask you about was actually kids' TV. Because obviously Educate, Inform, Entertain, it's always been there since the 50s. And you funded the Young Audience Content Fund in 2019. It was pretty pioneering. I think it's... For the 27 million put in it, it's made far more, nearly twice as much back. Lots of pioneering shows. But just children's broadcasting generally seems to be on a slippery slope. From 2006 to 2017, CBeebies and CBBC, which again I used to rely on a lot as an electronic babysitter back in the day, they've decreased 40%
An electronic
in funding.
babysitter.
Well, look, in my day you only had children's TV at 5 o'clock.
Stop confusing her. Just give her simple slogans like get Brexit done, build back better, levelling up. Don't have to mean anything, but electronic babysitting, all that's going to be too much for our mad Nadine Dorries.
For an hour or something, it was Blue Peter before the 6 o'clock news, whereas when I was a young mum, Yeah, it's informative, entertaining, all that stuff. So we know CBeebies budget dropped by 40% between 2006 and 2017. That's the last figures I've got. But this Young Audience Content Fund has provided things on Channel 5, Milkshake, it's done a lot of good stuff. And you're pulling the plug, Secretary of State. I've got a constituent who works in it who's heartbroken. Most of its young life was within COVID as well. Surely, given that now we're leaving this pandemic, normality resumes, you could throw a lifeline to them and extend it a bit longer.
I won't bet on it.
So I'm new to children's TV as a viewer, having an 8-month-old
You're new to intelligence as well.
granddaughter. I have to say that
You don't look old enough.
Thank you very much.
Not possible.
Yeah, you do.
Thank you very much. I'll take that. But yeah, so my house is kind of like full of Coco Melon, Peppa Pig, the Jettas. I mean, that's
Apparently in Bodger's house, it's full of Peppa Pig as well.
what's on my TV at the moment.
Go Jettas.
So Go Jettas, is that what it is? Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. I'm learning all my nursery rhymes again through Coco Melon. What else have we got? Yeah, so my house is full of it at the moment. But there was tax relief introduced.
Coco Melon, is that a cocktail drink? Or are you getting confused there, Nadine?
For children's TV, and I think the spend has been, since 2005, it's delivered 623 million. But I do take your point about, I do take the point that there are criticisms around children's TV at the moment. Obviously, these are discussions that we will have, particularly with public service broadcasters and the BBC, leading up to the charter renewal. But I'll take that point away, because you're not the first person to have raised children's TV as a criticism. And I think it's something we need to go away and look at.
I mean, that particular fund is a fund that came to an end just at the sort of end of the spending period. It wasn't included for the future. I think it had done good work, but other things such as the tax reliefs have obviously had a really major impact on the quality of children's television. It's obviously for the BBC to determine where it spends its budget, but I think we all would agree, and the BBC I'm sure would agree too, that the quality children's television is a critical part of public service broadcasting.
Okay, thank you. Secretary, you just referenced a review to the...
However, it's true that she is breaking the law and flouting her Netflix account to every Tom, Dick and Harry. Then the reason why I thought that was because you watched the people behind her. The woman at the side, I think it's her hair, didn't it? And they got all flustered about what she said, and she's trying to laugh it off. And that was my first thought. I don't think she was supposed to have said that. So, do you guys think, is she breaking the law, or have I got the wrong end of the stick? Because I'm not 100% sure, because as I said, I don't do Netflix. So what do you think? Right, I shall leave the video here, and until the next time, I shall bid you farewell and take care.